All praise going down is most certainly due to the Most High, the God of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and peace to you in the name of Jesus. This is your brother Elisha Israel of the household of faith. And I count you a blessing each and every single time that I can come before you to preach the word of God. And never do I count it as a light thing to do so. All right, brothers and sisters, I know I'm coming a little early today, and I want to get right into today's topic. And the topic is regarding the time period of the Great Tribulation. One of the most, peace to you, Brother Willie. Good to see you. One of the most misunderstood concepts concerning prophecy, particularly Great Tribulation prophecy in the Bible. And it is related to the rapture. You know, that's one of the things that is funny. No matter how much you prove biblically that there is no rapture, people want to believe that, not realizing that that doctrine is relatively new. It's very new. And Darby popularized it, or came up with somewhat of the mainstream doctrine pertaining to the rapture, and it was popularized further by C.I. Scofield and others. But yeah, I came on a little early tonight. And it's related to the time period. The time period, they say that, some even say that, you're going to have tribulation for a time for 3.5 years. Then you're going to have a rapture. Then you're going to have a 3.5 Great Tribulation. Okay. Or there's going to be peace during the time. So you got people who believe that there's going to be a rapture at certain times. Tribulationists, some believe that at the end it's going to be a rapture. There is no rapture. You're not going to heaven. The Bible tells you that. But before you even get to that, I might deal with that tomorrow. Before you even get to that not being a rapture, the basic thing is, how long is the Great Tribulation going to last? And that's one of the things that people don't know. Peace to you, Brother Leo, Brother Isaiah, Brother Willie. Good to see you. And I did this. I'm doing this because, and you brothers, we dealt with this on Friday. Was that Friday? Not this Friday, but the last Friday, I believe, in Bible study. In part because one of the ways people come up with the 7-year Great Tribulation is a misreading of Daniel 9. And we were dealing with the 70 weeks in that study. But so I just want to touch upon, I'm not going to be here long, briefly, on where the idea of a 7-year tribulation come from and actually how long it is. So I'm going to pick it up in Daniel, the 9th chapter, and verse 24, because here Daniel, one thing about Daniel, he was reading the prophet Jeremiah, trying to find out when his captivity would be over. And he read in verse 2, Daniel 9:2, it says, in the first year of his reign, that's talking about Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, the seed of the Medes. He says, in the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood by books the number of the years, whereof the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem. So he's thinking, okay, 70 years and this thing is up. So Israel's going to be reestablished. But it's not that simple. So we're going to skip down. He prayed, and then he received this revelation. The angel told it to him. So it says in verse 24, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins. Peace to you, Brother Elder. And to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. That's a lot. This is not talking about Great Tribulation, though. Okay, but this is where they get a Great Tribulation, 7 years. Peace to you. So it says, all these things are coming on from, it's going to be basically the restoration of Israel it talks about the end of sins or reconciliation. That's with the Messiah, right? The anointing of the Messiah. All that takes place. So it says 25, know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. Okay. The street shall be built again and the wall in troublous times. So now, when he says the commandment, we understand that Cyrus put a lot of these things into motion, but the commandment that you must start your account from was given by Artaxerxes in 557. BC, 557, 558 BC, Artaxerxes put forth this decree. Okay, so now he says from that time until it says to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. These are weeks of years. Okay, that's what it is. So you look at the time. It's you got 69 weeks until Messiah is anointed, which is 483 years. Okay. He said after 3, so it says, and it says the street shall be built again and the wall even in troublous times. You read about in the days of Ezra and Nehemiah where they were trying to rebuild Jerusalem and they had a sword in one hand, they built it with the other hand. Okay, because people were trying to destroy their works. Okay, and didn't want them to return. So it says, so when the Messiah came back, there was a temple to go into, even a temple that was built upon and much larger, even than Solomon's temple, because Herod magnified the temple, right? And they showed him that temple. He said, "Listen, it's gonna be a time." And the builders of it, they said, "It's gonna be a time where there's not gonna be one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down." So they know that Wailing Wall is not what they say it is. But nevertheless, that's not a part of the temple. But nevertheless, it says, and after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off. So 62 weeks. Okay, so that's talking about so he's anointed in 26 AD and he dies in 30 AD. Okay, so he has a ministry for 3.5 years. So from the time of 457, 458, that decree is given until the time that he dies, you got 69.5 weeks of 486.5 years. Okay. Why am I reading this? Because this is where they get the Great Tribulation. As if some man of sin is going to make some decree. It's not talking about that. This is talking about something entirely different. And I'm not going to get into that because that's an actual lesson in itself, the 70 weeks of Daniel. But this is oftentimes where they come to get their timeline is totally wrong. So it says, because notice what we're reading here. It says, and after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off. So he's killed in the midst of a prophetic week and a literal week, which is Wednesday in the literal week, and prophetically is after 3.5 years. Because these are weeks of years. So it says in verse 27, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. The Messiah did cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease. That's why, because when he died, the veil in the temple rent in two, showing you no more animal sacrifice. Then it says, and for the overspreading of, let me go up a little bit and read the rest of 26. It says, and after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself, and the people of the prince shall come and shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. That's talking about in 70 AD, when they came in and destroyed. Titus and the Romans came in and destroyed the temple. They razed it, and they destroyed Jerusalem. Okay, then it says, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war, desolations are determined. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation. And that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. So now you still have 3.5 years left in that prophetic week, which he is going to finish that 3.5 years when he comes back and Israel is regathered and he brings them into the wilderness. And he talks about in Ezekiel, he pleads with them there face to face. He's going to purge out the rebels. So he's coming. So the same one that came, he's coming back again. And when he comes back again, he's going to bring you back into the wilderness and to prepare you to go into the promised land. That's what this is talking about. This is not talking about great tribulation at all. It's not. So now let's go to Matthew, because again, we just want to deal with the timeline of the great tribulation. But I had to deal with that because as somebody commented that the great tribulation is 7 years. The great tribulation is not 7 years. And talking about what the saints going to be doing in the first part of the great tribulation. It's going to be all peaceful and all that. And then it's going to be hellish. No, the Bible doesn't tell you that. what we read, which is again where they get their timeline from, has nothing to do with. That's not talking about great tribulation to come. That's talking about again the fulfillment of that 70 weeks of the end of sins, Israel being restored as a people. Okay, so we still have 3.5 years left. It was cut off, and that before at 486.5 years, and then you still have 3.5 years left. But now Matthew the 24th chapter, because we want to pick it up at verse 3, well, actually verse 1. It says, and Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. As I stated, he told them, listen, you looking at this temple now, but it's going to be destroyed. He prophesied about that on more than one occasion. He looked over the city of Jerusalem and wept over it. He said, if you had known the time of thy visitation. They didn't understand. So now he's telling them this, and they asked him a question. In verse 3, it says, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? Okay. So now you got to think. So he tells them, take heed that no man deceive you. He said, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. That's a heck of a time span, if you will, and what they're actually asking when you really understand. Okay? So he says, you're going to hear wars, rumors of wars, pestilence, earthquake, and disease. Nations shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. He says, that's all in the beginning. Then they shall deliver you up. So he talks about persecution. But then he says something in verse 15. He said, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. What's the holy place? The holy place is the temple, and where the temple is located. We don't have a temple right now. That's how you know another temple has to be built. Hold your finger here, and let's go to the writings of Paul. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick it up in 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter. And he says something here so that we know that there has to be a third temple. He says in verse 1, 2 Thessalonians 2:1, now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ and by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter as from us, as that the day of Christ is at hand. So they think it's about to happen in their day. No, that's not about to happen. He said something has to happen first. He said, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. What man is in the abomination of desolation? The man of sin, the son of perdition, the one they call commonly the Antichrist. Okay. Then it says something. Who about him? It says, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God. This one places himself. He calls himself the vicar of Christ. Okay. The replacement for the Son of God. God on earth. This is the Pope. It says, or that is worship. That's because that's the vicarious fillet day. But nevertheless, it says, that's his number, 666. But nevertheless, it said, who opposeth and exalted himself above all that is called God or that is worship, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. So the Pope at that time, I'm not saying a specific Pope, but he's coming out of the office of the papacy. I want to qualify and make sure we understand that. He is going to go into that third temple. And once he goes into that third temple, that place in the sense, it's not just a temple, that's the place he chose, period. Okay? A specific place he chose, and what's going to happen is he's going to be there, and that's going to be a direct affront unto God. Because he say he God right now. Look at some of the blasphemous things that the popes have said in the past. So now in Matthew 24 and verse 15, he said, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, Whoso readeth, let him understand. Mark says, the place where he ought not. This holy place. This is a direct reference to God, and that's what starts the Great Tribulation. He says in verse 21, for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Okay, now let's go to Daniel. So now this is what sets off the Great Tribulation. So now the question is, how long is the Great Tribulation? Let's go to the book of Daniel, and we're going to pick it up at chapter 7 and verse 24. Daniel chapter 7 and verse 24. He referred you back to Daniel. So now Daniel's going to tell you about this blasphemous one. The book of Daniel tells you. It says in verse 24, and the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall arise after them. And he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. Now this one that does this is talking about none other than that man is saying the son of perdition. Now, he shall speak great words against the Most High. Right? He's a blasphemer. And shall wear out the saints of the Most High. See, now he's coming and he is persecuting y'all saints. Then it says, and think to change times and laws. Because he's not just some religious man, he's also a king. And they shall be given into his hand. Think about how long this is, until a time, that's 1 year, and times, that's 2 years, and the dividing of times, that's a half a year. 1 plus 2 is 3. You add that half, you have 3.5 years. So that's how long the Great Tribulation is. It is 3.5 years. Let's go to, and that's the time you see over and over again. I'm still in Daniel. I'm gonna pick it up in Daniel, the 12th chapter, and I'm gonna pick it up at verse 1. It says, and at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble such as never was, since there was a nation even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. So now this is talking again. This is talking about Great Tribulation, right? And he tells you again the time frame of how long it is. Daniel, the 12th chapter and the 7th verse. And I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and swear by him that liveth forever that it shall be. Talking about this time of Great Tribulation. He says, and it shall be for a time, that's 1, times, that's 2.5. 1 plus 2 is 3. Add the half, you have 3.5 years. So now we've read it twice. And when he shall accomplish this, to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. So that's the time of the Great Tribulation, 3.5 years. Now let's go up a little bit, because he talks about this time frame further. It gets a little bit more specific. He says in verse 10, many shall be purified and made white. A lot of people are going to die. So much for you don't have any problems in the Great Tribulation of being servant of God. He keep telling you. We just read he's going to wear out the saints. You matter of fact, when you read, and hold your finger here, when you read in Revelation, let's read it real quick. We're going to go back to Revelation. But if you read in the 12th chapter of Revelation about this place of safety during Great Tribulation, because that's what this is talking about, and he gives you a time frame. He says in Revelation, the 12th chapter, and the 6th verse, and the woman fled into the wilderness where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,203 score days. That's 1,260 days. How long is 1,260 days? 1,260 days is 3.5 years. See, there's no rapture to save you from Great Tribulation. Rather, there's the place of safety. And this is not here by coincidence. It's 1,260 days. So now let's skip down a little bit, because it says in verse 14, and to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time and times and a half of times. 1 plus 2 is 3. Then you add a half, you have 3.5 years. How many times you have to read it? Then it says, and the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. So as Israel is fleeing into the wilderness, Satan has it to where he tries to drown the woman. It says, and the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood, which the dragon cast out of his mouth. Now listen to this. And the dragon was wroth, meaning the dragon, that's talking about Satan. You read that in verse 9. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. So now it says, that's what this dragon is. It said, and the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed. So he wants to make war. So now you got some that are serving God that don't make it to the place of safety. It says, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. So now they are catching it during the Great Tribulation. Okay. So now, and I don't really want to get further into it, but now you know that that's the time frame. Again, times in the dividing of time. 1,260 days. Then it says back in Daniel the 12th chapter and verse 11, so verse 10, many shall be purified and made white because they're going to be killed. They're going to suffer great persecution and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. And from the, you know, the people not going to understand, because when he has that statue, right, have people worshiping that statue that seems to come to life, they're gonna be worshiping that wholesale. But the true believers, they're gonna be like Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. They're not gonna bow down. You know, the 3 Hebrew boys that were thrown into a furnace. But see, you're gonna be beheaded at that time. That's what I'm saying. Many shall be purified and made white. Verse 11, and from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh the desolate set up. So the time that it takes this man of sin, the son of perdition, to stop the daily sacrifice. See, that's where people get confused, because these people in the land who claim to be God's chosen, they're the ones that are going to build the temple. They have everything for the temple already. Matter of fact, they are the ones that they're going to start sacrificing. They do sacrifice on altars, but they're going to sacrifice in the temple. They already have a school for the priests that have been training. They have every utensil, every garment. They have the menorah replica. They have everything. The plans, all they need is political expedience to build the temple. So it says, and from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh the desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Now we read 1,260 days in Revelation, the time of the Great Tribulation. But there is from the time that it takes him to stop, you have what? You have 30 days added. 30 days for the Pope to stop daily sacrifice, plus the 1,260-day Great Tribulation. So that we read it several times, but the Great Tribulation lasts for 3.5 years. Now let's go to back to Revelation, because here, to combat what this one is doing, he has some of his witnesses doing something. 2 of his witnesses. So these not Jehovah's Witnesses, the organization either. Revelation, because people, well, never mind. Revelation, the 11th chapter and verse 1, it says, and there was given me a reed like unto a rod. And the angel stood saying, rise and measure the temple of God and the altar and them that worship therein. So he tells them to measure, but he says you need to not measure something. And he tells them why. He says, but the court which is without the temple leave out. So don't measure that. He says, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles. And the holy city shall they tread underfoot. For how long? 42 months. 1,260 days. That's 3.5 years. 42 months is 3.5 years. Times in the dividing of time. That's 3.5 years. 1,290 days. That's 3.5 years plus the 30 days. Part of that 30-day period where it's going to take him to set up, do what he wants, do what he's trying to do. And then he's going to stand in that place. That's going to set off great tribulation. Again, but the court which is without the temple leave out and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles. In the holy city shall they tread underfoot 42 months. Then he says something, and I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 candlesticks standing before the God of the earth. So now these 2 witnesses, and they're going to be killed, and they're going to be resurrected at the end of great tribulation. But it says, how long are they going to have their ministry of prophesy rather? 1,203 square days. Again, 1,260 days. You read it over and over and over and over again. Over and over again. I'm going to read. Now, as they're doing that, this man is sin, this son of perdition, this abomination of desolation, which is going to, this Pope is going to stand in the temple. He's going to be doing something. How long is he going to be doing it for? Revelation, this is last place. Revelation, the 13th chapter and verse 5. It says, and there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. The great tribulation, brothers and sisters, 42 months, 1,260 days, times in the dividing of times. 3.5 years, not 7. And with that, brothers and sisters, I want to remind you that we're at the Household of Faith. Meet every Sabbath at 5925 West 25th Avenue in Gary, Indiana. We live stream right here on the Israel Teach YouTube channel, as well as at www.israelteach.org. If you've been edified through the ministry, you can go to our website and leave a donation. All praise to the Most High. 100% of the proceeds go to the work of the ministry. If you decide to leave, again, that's www.israelteach.org. And with that, brothers, all praise to the Most High for any edification that was received. And with that, brothers and sisters, it's always my prayer that you were edified.